Generally, I don't think that you need to convince other people to follow your dreams because it's your life and you can do whatever you want with it. And nobody has asked you whether you want to live in the first place. So you have the right to pursue the dreams you want. But it does make sense to, for example, convince your parents when you want to follow your dreams, because sometimes you are still dependent on them. If you still live with them and they support you financially, then it can be quite dangerous in a way when you don't have the approval. But it's best not to communicate that because it can come across as being ungrateful, and this does not lead to anything. And I think the very first step to maybe convince them or talk to them is to understand them first. Why are they like that? Why do they oppose your dreams? Why don't they want you to follow your dreams? And let's assume that they have best intentions for you, because some parents don't. So just assume that they want the best for you and they like you. So generally there are different reasons why they would oppose your dream. First of all, it can be that they are quite traditional. They don't know any other way than the traditional way, like going to school, get a degree, have a stable job somewhere at a company or whatever, or have a kind of a job with high status and reputation, like doctor or becoming a lawyer or something like that. And in this case, I think it's very important for them to understand that times have changed. We live in the digital era where 6 billion people have access to the internet and they use it frequently. So even if you want to be an artist, it's not the same as back then anymore. You don't have to be a starving artist anymore because you have access to 6 billion people who could potentially become your customer. And this is something that many have to understand, especially nowadays with AI. The AI can take away some of our jobs, and there is no guarantee that a traditional job is more secure and safe than any other job you want to pursue. And I know of several people who started a re-education at mid-30. So there is no guarantee for anything that you will have a stable job for a long time or as long as you work. And I think especially for these kind of people or parents who are more traditional inclined, it's important to kind of show them evidence that you're capable of doing it. You know, if you're maybe just you show them small successes or accomplishments or show that you're really good at what you want to pursue, then they might be more inclined to trust you and go along with that. And you can also show them maybe examples of other people. You know, I know of two people that have become very successful. Maybe you know them. One of them is Lucy Gore, if that's pronounced correctly, and the other one is Alex Hormozy. He's quite popular currently, and I have linked both videos in which they talk about the parents opposing them, and I think both did not even get financial support from them, and they still thrived to this, and they still accomplished so much and just went through with whatever they wanted to do. Of course, it's not possible for every person, you know, it depends on your circumstances, but just to use kind of like this as evidence for your parents to show them that it is possible, even if the parents don't see any reason or meaning to follow a certain path. And oftentimes you will see people change their minds if they see you become successful. For example, nobody would assume that artists can become successful or wealthy, but once you make some good amounts of money, they will probably change their mind very fast. And then suddenly they will realize and recognize that it is possible to have a career as an artist, just as an example. And traditional inclined parents are more, let's say, they have less experience about what is possible in life. For example, if you don't know that planes exist and you tell them, oh, my dream is to fly, they will absolutely say it's impossible for humans to fly. You won't pursue this career because it's not possible. But in reality, planes do exist. Just because they don't know it does not mean that it's not possible. And it's similar with this traditional way. They're just so focused on old days, how it was back then when they were young, without thinking that times change. So I think it's really important to make them clear that things are different from back then. And then there are these parents who project their dream onto you. So they wanted to maybe get a good job, maybe become a doctor, but there was no financial support. So they couldn't go to university and couldn't study and couldn't become a doctor. So they project that dream onto you and you have to follow their path as if you were the same person. And in this case, it's really important to make them understand that you are a separate human being, that you are an individual. You're no copy of them. You do respect them and their opinion, and that they had this dream, and it's quite sad that they couldn't pursue it, but that does not mean that you have to live their life for them. You have a different life. It's separate from theirs. And then there are also these kind of parents who feel like they have succeeded as parents if the children have a high degree and have reputation in society and high status, and they just feel better about themselves. So they don't want to feel as a failure because they are, as I talked about in the last video, they are too much concerned about what society thinks about the worthiness of an individual, because it's in society it's always tied to status, and the higher the degree or the better the degree and the higher your status is, the more worthy you are. And so many parents or people in general are trapped in this kind of illusion. And in this case as well, I think it's important to make them understand that you are an individual and you want to pursue the path you have chosen for yourself, that you respect their opinion, but you also want to be respected for your dreams. And that no matter what dreams you have or whatever you achieve in life, it does not say anything about them as parents, whether they have succeeded or not as parents. I mean, so many people, so many parents, especially if you have your first child, you don't want to make mistakes. You want to kind of create the best human possible, the best child possible. Like they're kind of very successful in our society. They have a high standard, high status. They're perceived as worthy and they're respected. So it's just important to make them understand that no matter what you choose in life, that it's not a reflection about them. It's not a reflection about how good they are as a parent or not. That's not what it is about. It's just that you want to take reign over your own life and don't want to regret anything. Like they don't want to regret things in life as well. And they may have dreams as well, and they regret not going for them. Which leaves us to the next type of parent. Maybe this leads us to the next type of parent, and they want to shield their child from making mistakes. Like they have made mistakes in life, so they want to shield their child from making them too. And oftentimes, adults do not take younger people seriously, which is, I think, a problem. Because I don't think that parents know their child better than the child knows themselves. Because the 20s are there to experiment, to find out who you are, what emotional needs you have, what values you have, what preferences you have. And you have to make them clear that it's your life and you want to make choices. And if it leads to a mistake, then you gladly take the mistake as a learning process and to grow. Because yes, it is wise to learn from other people's mistakes in order to avoid them. It can save you quite a lot of pain, but some mistakes have to be made in order to grow. We generally do not learn from history. We have to experience things ourselves in order to grow. And that's what your 20s are all about. And so, to kind of summarize this until now, it's important to understand their point of view, why they oppose your dream, and get to know the underlying reason. And it's best to stay in a calm state, a respectful state, because once it gets emotional, they can get stubborn quite easily. And as soon as someone is stubborn, you can't reason with them, and that doesn't lead to anything. So make it clear that you do not oppose them and their opinion, and that you respect their opinion, but you just want to make sure you decide for yourself and make your own choices. And this then leads to compromising. I think a compromise is the best outcome you can have with the parents you're still dependent on. Because you tell them that you want to dedicate a certain amount of time to follow your dreams. You make everything possible in order to become successful and in order to thrive in whatever you have set for yourself. And then you can show them small successes and show them evidence that you are capable of doing it. And the more they see from you and work towards your dream, the more they will hopefully approve of it. And then, if it's not working out after you have dedicated some time toward your dream, you can still choose the other way, the traditional way, or whatever your parents want you to do. And even if it's not working out, you have still learned something about yourself. Maybe you thought it was your dream, and in the end, it's not really what you want to do, and instead you have found something different. So there's nothing to lose, actually. And when you find a compromise, you're not opposing their opinion and they are respecting your dream. I think that's the best possible outcome. And you only achieve that by understanding them, showing them respect, and showing them tiny successes or evidence. And yeah, I would say good luck. But at least you will have learned something. And that's the best possible outcome you can have, a compromise with your parents. That they respect your dream and you respect their opinion and decision. And even if it's not working out, you have still learned something. Good luck. It's different though when it comes to friends, I think, because I don't think that you need to convince friends. Because with them it's a little bit different. You are mostly not dependent on them, not financially, maybe a little bit emotionally, but it's still important with which kind of friends you surround yourself with. And oftentimes we have friends out of convenience and because it's familiar. If you have known someone for a very long time and you have had so much fun together and we don't want things to change. So you have to find the underlying reason why they oppose your dream. Is it because they don't believe it's possible? Then in this case, you can show them evidence. It's kind of like similar with parents who are very traditional. When they don't believe it's possible, it's because they don't have enough experience in order to know it's possible. You can use, for example, the plane example here as well. Just because they don't know that a plane exists does not mean it's impossible to fly. So I think it's still a little bit easier to convince friends and to get them on your side if you show it's possible, or show them evidence from other people that it's possible, that they made it possible, even when they opposed their parents and had no support, it's still possible to achieve your dreams. And the second reason could be it's more about them than about you. It's not that they don't believe that you can do it, but they might be afraid you won't have time for them, or things will change, because our nervous system wants us to stay in the comfort zone and only repeat what we know, because that means safety. Or they feel like a loser for not having a dream of their own they can work towards. And they want to feel better about themselves by getting you in the same boat, by staying the same. You do not work towards something and they will not work towards something. Everything will stay the same. Oh, how beautiful. And then the question becomes, are they really friends? Or are these type of friends you want to have in your life? Because if they were truly friends, wouldn't they just support you in whatever you have set for yourself? Imagine you work in a corporate job. You have to go to the office every day. You don't really hate the job, but you don't like it either. You only stay there because you really like your coworkers. You have so much fun every day. They like you, you like them. And suddenly, one day, they quit. Now you are at work without the coworkers you really liked. The reason you stayed in this job is gone. And there might be the possibility that you will never see them again because they just used you to feel better about the work they have to do because they didn't like it. That's why they quit. And then you are trapped there in a job you don't like because of other people who are not there anymore. And just like with the colleagues, there's no guarantee that you will stay friends with them forever. Especially if they find a girlfriend or boyfriend or even marry. Oftentimes you won't have any contact anymore, and then you have wasted your time. You stayed the same all these years because of these people you wanted in your life, and then they are gone, and you have not achieved your dream, or you have wasted years because of that. So I think it's better to follow your dreams earlier than later, because it will help you to find out whether you really want it, and you only know that by doing it. Because in the end, it can still not work out. You think, oh, it's actually not what I really want, but it helped you find something else instead. But you will only know by doing it. And I don't think that people who could come and go at any time in your life have to decide whether you pursue your dream or not. But everyone has to make their own choice regarding that. And, dreams will stay dreams if it's really a dream you're really passionate about. You will still think about it in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. It won't disappear. You will still want to do it, so better try it out earlier than later. You don't need everyone to believe in your dream before you begin. Sometimes you just need to begin and become the evidence that it is possible for you to achieve your dreams. Good luck, and until next time, bye.